Very good.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting for the Board of Commissioners for the Department of Water and Power for May 1st to order. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Holloman, Moss, Noonan, and Parkway present.
Thank you. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found on by contacting Channel 35. There are no opening remarks from the chair, so at this point I will turn the meeting over to the commissioner. I'm sorry, to the general manager.
I've been promoted.
You've been promoted. However, the pay is a little different. So
that would be true. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Holloman and esteemed board. There are three quick things I'd like to discuss here. Number one, we have started our public meetings on the rate process, kind of renewing the discussions that we had last summer. Had meetings over the valley, had meetings down at Crenshaw last night, had a meeting last Saturday here at the JFB in our auditorium. And generally speaking, I think people understand where it is, what it is we're about. They recognize that these are many of the same discussions that we had last summer, and it's kind of a refresh with respect to that. Several more meetings to go, and we have had also Dr. Pickle, as the ratepayer advocate, has been at several of the meetings with us as well on that. So explaining his role and the timing, and timing is a bit of a tension. There's tension between the time that he is looking to review things and the time that we would like to move forward, but we will work that out. So anyway, progress is being made on that, and getting good discussion in each of those meetings. I want to talk about a couple of organizational changes that I think you may be aware of, but we have not really had an opportunity to discuss. And one is to the area of our sustainability, environment, and external affairs. I think you're aware that Lorraine Pesquet has announced that she's leaving. She'll actually be here until early June. She's taking some well-deserved time off right now and working back and forth with us on some things. She accomplished a lot while she was here. She was here in 2 different stints. A lot of work that she did in energy efficiency, partnering with our power system. Similarly on water conservation, working with Jim McDaniel in the water system. Did a lot of work with water system on our Owens Valley dust mitigation issues and compliance there. Good times and in the difficult ones as we've been going through that, and pleased that we made 90% reduction in emissions in that effort. She's also, of course, been responsible for all of our intergovernmental affairs, federal and state levels. She's led our community relations group and had our communications group reporting up to her as well. That's a really broad scope for all of one person to handle when it's that on top of environment, compliance, energy efficiency, and water conservation. So looking at that situation, realizing it's pretty difficult. I don't know what size those shoes are, but they are bigger virtually they are in real life in terms of what Lorraine has filled, and having one person do all of that going forward I think is unreasonable. And so we are changing the organization around a bit to modify it to keep all of the environment and compliance work, the energy efficiency and the water conservation, those groups reporting up to one person. The reason that you see Mark see the check here today is Mark has agreed on an interim basis to do that as we work through organizationally how to deal with this in the long term. And Mark's had a lot of interaction with it. Obviously, Mark heads up the environmental work right now, so he has a lot of experience. That is the biggest lift of those 3 groups. So Mark's got kind of comes into this with a good understanding of more than a third of that responsibility. Separately, we'll have intergovernmental affairs, which is led today by Cindy Montanez. Will report directly to me as GM. Similarly, Winfred Yancey heads up community relations, and she will be a direct report as well here. And then Joe Romano, who heads up communications, will be a direct report. So that's how we're kind of modifying the organization going forward, as you see that. Really have greatly appreciated Lorraine's work for us, and will sorely miss having her here. I'm trying to get as much as I can out of her in the days that she still is here, and trying to talk her out of not taking quite all of those vacation days that she has coming. Separately, we've sent out today an announcement of some other changes with regard to a major focus on improving the customer experience. By that, a better interface between our customers, who really are our shareholders too, and the department. I think the board here knows from all the many contract items and budget discussions we've had around our customer information system that that's a big issue and a major effort for the department. It's over $150 million total to replace that. Not to mention all the procedural things that we have to do on that, and it's an unprecedented effort for us, not just by our IT group, but by our customer service division as well. And in addition, on top of making that huge change, customer service just simply isn't where we want it to be, given some of the challenges that we have at the department. And the CIS system will help us a lot, and it's been a hindrance. The lack of it has been a big reason why we haven't been able to do the customer service that we'd like. But we've continued to have delayed billing, errors in billing, multiple calls by individuals into the call center to try to ultimately get resolution of their problems. And on top of that, we have things that really customer service should be doing more of than some of our power system, our water system, and our sustainability groups doing on solar and now the feed-in tariff and energy efficiency and water conservation. Customer interaction really probably ought to be done more out of our customer service group, and it's kind of shared at this point. So all in, we need to enter in this next century to be in this century's IT and kind of this century's customer service, to be frank with you on this. And it's not reasonable to assume to have the director of customer service also have a full-time responsibility for the CIS system. And I think John Chen's done a good job on the CIS work, and so we're moving him to take full responsibility within customer service for that and have his entire attention focused on that. So to allow that to go forward and continue to go forward as we get to implementation separately, we'll have a new, 2 new people coming in. We'll have a person that is director of customer experience, who will be actually the head of customer service. Sharon Grove will be joining us. It comes from a great experience with Commonwealth Edison, then became part of Exelon Electric utility in Chicago and the Midwest areas. Since then, she was with Nicor, a gas utility in the Midwest, has 20 years of CSD experience and 10 more years on top of that. In addition to that, Connie Roche will be joining us. She was previously head of customer service for Cincinnati Water, one of the larger water utilities and more progressive ones. She's gone through the whole change of customer information service systems as well. So they will both be officially emergency hires. They'll be starting on May 14th, and look forward to trying to work through our whole organization to really improve our customer interactions and customer relations as we go forward. So I wanted to make you aware of those changes, and look forward to working as a management team to better fill our needs with our customers. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Ms. Pasquette will certainly be missed by all of us, and look forward to saying goodbye to her officially.
We will definitely have her in and have a formal recognition before the board before she leaves.
Great, thank you. Item 3 are comments, requests from commissioners relating to LADWP operations, as well as if there are any items on the consent calendar you'd like moved to discussion. Commissioner Parfret.
I've 3 requests in one statement. First, the statement: very much appreciate Lorraine Pasquette's service to this department, and she will be indeed very much missed. The requests are as follows. There are now over 1,000 electric vehicles in the city of Los Angeles, but currently we have no public fast chargers. And so my request is of the department to provide the status of the deployment of EV fast chargers using the TCPN procurement process. I want to know the status of that. My second request is associated with the IPP generating station, which has been out of operation for a number of months. I think it would be probably a good idea for the public to be informed of the status of the repairs and the financial report on losses or gains in revenue from the curtailment of operations there, and whether our insurance policies will cover any losses from that. The third item is sort of a public relations piece. The San Onofre nuclear generating station has been out of commission for the last few months, and looking forward, there might be one unit that's coming online in the near future, but it's still uncertain. And I've heard varying reports of whether the LADWP is, the status of it trying to engage with the CalISO and with Southern California Edison to ensure that the neighboring utilities and the people of Southern California can look forward to a summer where their refrigerators are going to be working, their air conditioners are working, and what DWP is doing to help the rest of Southern California get through what might be a trying time. So those are my three requests.
Thank you, Commissioner. Noted.
We can get back on those noted. Get back.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Noonan.
Thank you. I respectfully request that our board defer item 8, given commentary about the RFP process that was provided to the board recently. And I also have questions on item 11.
Great. So we'll need a vote for item 8, and I'll take that as a motion. Do I have a second to defer 8?
Second.
Thank you. Any opposition? Hearing none, item 8 will be deferred to our next meeting, and 11 will be taken up after the consent is done. Commissioner Moss.
Yes, I have a couple of requests, but first a question for the general manager. At the public hearings that you've been having on the rate request, what's the attendance been like?
Well, the attendance has been fairly light. It's been on the order of, I think I failed to mention, we also had one down in San Pedro as well. It's been on the order of half a dozen to a dozen or so. Generally, maybe a few more than that went over in the valley.
Yeah, I wasn't at the Valley.
Okay.
We had about a dozen last night.
That one was a little. That was pretty light as well. So it's been actually less than they've been, less than several of them were last year. And I think in part it's because I believe people recognize in the information that we've put out that it's fairly similar to the circumstances that we were facing last year, only on the power side, much more dire, frankly.
And there are more meetings set, and if so, when are those occurring?
I apologize, I don't have the list in front of me here right now.
I've got the information on at least on the next two.
Right.
We've got a meeting tomorrow evening, Wednesday, May 2nd at 6:30. That'll be in Highland Park at Rec and Parks Ramona Hall, 4580 North Figueroa. And then on Thursday, May 3rd, also at 6:30, we'll have a meeting in Van Nuys at the DWP Van Nuys Service Center. That's located at 14401 Satakoy Street in Van Nuys. And there's a meeting next week in West LA at the Stephen Weiss Temple.
Right.
Do you know which day that is, Bill?
And I believe there's a webinar as well.
Oh, the meeting at the Stephen Weiss Temple is Thursday, May 10th, and that's at 15500 Stephen Weiss Drive. That meeting's also at 6:30.
Thank you.
And we have had some requests from some of the neighborhood councils for potentially some additional meetings, and we will be scheduling those later in the month of May.
Okay, great.
And are certainly open to additional meetings from various interest groups and geographies within the city as they come about.
Okay, thank you. Touching upon Commissioner Parfrey's comments about San Onofre, I'd also add to that, I think Diablo Canyon is shut down temporarily as well. And so I would like to know a little bit more specifically what the impacts are going to be on DWP this summer, what it might do in terms of, you know, if it's going to affect rates or any costs, and what our strategies are for dealing with those impacts. I'd also like to have a briefing on LADWP plans for emergency response. I don't believe we've had one in quite a while, especially earthquake response. And finally, I'd like to additionally ask that items 7, 14, and 15 be pulled for discussion.
Certainly. Okay, item 4, public comment. Barbara, I believe we have one.
Yes, we have one speaker card. The speaker is Linda Rumman.
Good afternoon. I would like to address the topic that had just come up, and that is specifically the meetings. I did not attend any of the meetings this year, but I did attend all of them from last year. And I would propose, as an attendee of all of those meetings, that the reason that you're not having individuals attend is because they know that absolutely nothing they say has any bearing whatsoever on the rates. That's why they don't waste their time. Now, when I attended last year, we had a general meeting. Everybody was together. We wanted to ask questions. We were told, oh, no, we can't ask questions in the general meeting and have other people listen to our questions and possible answers, but they were going to break us into little individual groups where they would control us. And they did. They controlled and manipulated. They had on the board the different items that we could vote on as far as how much of an increase we were willing to give ourselves and for what. They had listed down there how much the coal was, how much it was for solar. You never saw any other additional items being listed there, such as the new generators that are in effect. But we were manipulated. And then we were told that, oh, don't bother about voting only once. You can vote as many times as you want on each one of the items. Now, what kind of sense does that make as far as any statistics? So the fact of the matter is that the ratepayers are herded together, and then when they appear, such as what happened in the Van Nuys area, in Van Nuys, at that particular location where we had over 100 people, and we were passing around a sheet with addresses, phone numbers, and emails, we were told by the head of the department that was hired by the DWP, no, we're not going to allow this, but we'll share our listing with you. And then they never shared it. So you have a lot of problems with the credibility of the Department of Water and Power, and the fact that we know that anything the ratepayers say is totally and completely ignored.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioners, Madam Commissioners, I would really like to address an issue with regard to our outreach, because we had undertook some 30 meetings last year. I think this is an important issue. Don't typically respond to commentators, but on this one I feel compelled.
Please.
We did take a lot of outreach last year. We took assiduous notes from the information that we got back. We got extraordinary detail, and we did have in some meetings 100 people there. And if you've ever tried to get comments from 100 people in a meeting when you're talking about both power rates and water rates and base levels and trying to get specific input on strategic investments, I can assure you, you cannot get that done in a 6-hour meeting, and people were not going to be there to go from 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. till past midnight, although sometimes we stayed until 10 o'clock at night, easily on some of those meetings. Through that session, we did get a lot of good input. We provided that input. We provided that input back both online and in public meetings following to describe what that input was, and that input did indeed influence the decisions that we made this year, and we took into account much of that input in terms of our efforts. We got a lot of pushback, I'll be honest with you, on costs, and we did everything we have in the last year to cut back costs even further so that we can make it through a year without hopefully deferring so much that we're going to have system repercussions associated with that. This year, we heard some concerns last year about people being broken up into smaller groups. And as a result, we've decided this year we're not going to do that. We're having en masse groups and get comments back and work through in that direction, ask questions in that manner. So we did hear, we did listen, and we believe we're doing a good job in trying to get input as best we can with our customers.
Thank you very much, Ron. Takes us to our consent calendar. Barbara, follow me to make sure I've got these accurate. I think what's left on consent would be 5, 6, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 16.
Yes.
Great. Is there a motion for approval on those items?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any opposition to those? No? Those items are approved, which takes us to item 7. Commissioner Moss, is there a question, or would you like a presentation?
Yeah, it's a question. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the board letter correctly. What you're proposing to do is to buy on a cooperative basis with the county?
Well, it's a contract that LA County has established with LA Freightliner.
Okay. So what did we do to verify the pricing of the trucks independently of whatever the price is that the county has set?
Well, traditionally, when we put together a spec, we take a look at what the industry, what we paid the last time with yearly cost inflation, and then also to work with the manufacturers if we were to go out with a bid, how this bid would apply. And traditionally, when you get a contract of this size, their cost, in essence, would be basically the same thing we would get.
So did you verify that?
Yes.
Okay. And so the unit, what would be the unit cost? Was it just 10 divided by the 1
Correct.
million?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's it.
Thank you. Any other questions on 7? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any opposition?
Yeah, I have a problem with this one. It doesn't seem that there was, that the pricing was verified on this. So I'm going to vote against this one.
Item carries 3-1. Barbara.
Thank you.
Takes us to 11. Both Commissioners Noonan and Moss had questions. Would you like a presentation as well?
You know what, I'll just start off with my questions, if
Sure.
that's all right.
Great.
I know that this isn't a huge budget line item, but...
Aaron, are you going to cover this?
Yeah, I'll cover it.
Okay, but what's not described is why meetings take place there, what's the purpose, and how often do meetings take place there? Because if the meetings happen twice a year, why have someone on staff full-time? Why not just meet somewhere else?
So just the background on the facilities, this is a historic facility that the department had way back when the Hoover Dam was being constructed. So it is a historic site that we own. It's a 5-bedroom, basically on the location. The original headquarters of DWP was in that vicinity in Boulder City. So we had 2 lodges in that area. We've sold one over the years. This is the last property that we own. It is where President Hoover stayed, and a lot of during the construction of Hoover Dam. It's a historic site for the department that we've kept it as is. So the services that you have there is to as a caretaker, to take care of minor maintenance and make sure the property is secure. And if we have a meeting there, there's a 5-bedroom. It's an accommodation for people to stay there, and also have conferences and meetings. We have a little meeting area. We have communication facilities there that we use, and we basically pay for just the maintenance of that facility and keeping it up. The other things that we do, the meeting facility, those are all additional benefits that we get by being in the area. But We also use hotels in the area because, you know, there's only five rooms we can accommodate people with. And we also have a crew, the maintenance crew and the transmission headquarters close by there. So a lot of traffic goes by Boulder City for the transmission work that we do on our lines. And we also have the Boulder Hub where we have McCullough and Marketplace where we have crews in and out of there.
So how often does the department actually have meetings at this historical location?
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we have not only this facility, but throughout the Boulder city, we have contracts in place. We have probably 4 or 5 contract hotels that we also use to house people and have meetings in those areas. This is just one part of that entire hub that we have in that area, but I can get you the meeting numbers.
Okay, and do we ever rent this out to third parties to kind of, subsidize the maintenance costs?
We don't rent it. We kind of charge the U.S. government Bureau of Reclamation and people that were part of the Hoover Dam. They could use the government entities. They could use it, and they just pay the expenses for them to have that. So a lot of other entities also use it. To have a meeting. It is a place. It is a historic place. It's an awesome place to visit and to see all the history behind the Hoover Dam and everything else we have kept intact. So it has a lot of treasures, kind of preserving the history of that project and the role of the department in that area.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Commissioner Moss.
I have a simple math question. It seems that the original contract was for $135,000, and that we're proposing to extend it for a year and pay Mr. Abila $45,000. But when you add 45 and 135, you don't come up with 190, which is what we're extending the contract amount to. Unless I'm doing the math wrong.
180 in my head. But
yeah, that's what I ran it 4 times on a calculator because I didn't trust myself. So I was just wondering if we need to fix the resolution to fix that error? Or?
We need to fix it. It is an error.
Okay, well then
It's
we could
45.
fix it by motion then, could we not?
we could adopt the item with the change to 180.
Okay. All right. So I would like to make a motion that we approve the item but change the amount from total of 190 to 180.
Thank you.
Well done, sir. Is there a second?
I would like to follow up on your offer to get information about how many people stay there, because I definitely appreciate historical sites. However, if we're using this historical place twice a year, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to pay a full-time person to be cleaning it every week.
I will get that information.
But with that said, I will second your motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Motion carries with Commissioner Moss's saving of the department of $10,000. Thank you.
I paid my salary.
All right, takes us to item 14. Commissioner Moss, questions?
Yeah, this one, this was a real head scratcher for me. So I would like to have a presentation just to kind of guide us through how the amounts for the quarterly increase were arrived at. Kind of take me through the process.
So Ron, who's got that?
Phil and George.
They're preparing themselves.
So these pass-through rates are calculated in advance for each quarter, and we have certain pass-throughs that do require board approval, and those are specified here. We have also indicated in this memorandum other pass-throughs which we provide for informational purpose, but are straight pass-throughs that don't require board approval. So the three that require your approval are the demand-side management and reclaimed water component of the water procurement adjustment factor, the water quality improvement adjustment factor, and the water security adjustment factor. Those are all listed on page 4. And you can see on page 4 the change from the current quarter to what is proposed for the second quarter of the next fiscal year.
the rates increase from one quarter to the next from about $1.17.9 to $1.19.4. So a relatively small change quarter to quarter. Versus the rates that are currently in effect, it is a more substantial change, and that is due primarily to the purchased water factor, and also on page 4 you'll note the water quality improvement adjustment factor. That was the recent increase in the cap of 35 cents, so we're starting to see those increased costs flow through.
Okay, so that's really what I wanted to highlight, was that was the reason for it, is the increase in the cap is now really taking effect then.
That's correct. So everything that's proposed here for next year is entirely consistent with the numbers that we've talked about in our rates presentations, that overall we're looking at about an increase of about 0.5%, excluding purchased water. So all of the materials that you see here are just implementing that. The amount will fluctuate quarter by quarter, but for the year as a whole, we're looking at something consistent with what we had described before.
Now, which category does the purchased water affect the most? Is that on the demand side, or?
The purchased water, if you look at page 2, you'll see the 3 pass-through components that are straight pass-throughs that don't require board approval. But you'll see we are anticipating a fairly substantial increase in the purchased water component for next year, and that's due to the far below average precipitation we've seen this season. And that's gradually going to increase. It doesn't come in all at once, but you'll see quarter by quarter this will increase substantially over the current level.
Do you have, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a sense of the actual dollar amount that we'll be purchasing for Metropolitan Water District estimated for 2012 versus what we paid for in 2011? And if you don't have it, that's fine.
I think we'd have that. Overall, we're likely to see that that purchased water factor nearly double from the current fiscal year to the next fiscal year. So this year, the purchased water factor that our customers paid was about 62 cents per 100 cubic feet, and that's going to increase to about $1.11 next year.
And is that a function also that Metropolitan Water District has raised its rates this year as opposed to last year?
That is a function, although the largest driver is a volume impact.
I think it might be worthwhile for Jim McDaniel if you could just give brief insight into what level of purchases we made from MWD last year, or the current year, I should say, versus what we're looking at next year, just as a percentage. I think goes back to the issue, Commissioner Moss, that we discussed in the past few meetings about this phenomenal swing that we've had from.
Right, but this is where the rubber meets the road,
Exactly.
because now we're seeing
Right.
the actual numbers and the cost.
They're starting to hit it.
Right. So in a normal year, which it seems like you never have a normal year, but the average, call it the long-term average year, we buy a little bit more than half of our water from Metropolitan Water District. This last year, because of the great snowpack we had in the Eastern Sierra, we only bought about half that. I think we bought like about 26% of our water from Metropolitan Water District. This next year, we anticipate it's going to be closer to 2/3 of our water will have to be bought. So that's a huge swing, going from like 26% to 66%. And just the dollars, the estimate for the current fiscal year's purchases about $117 million for Metropolitan, and that's going to go up substantially. I think this was before we readjusted the purchase water estimate, so it'll be closer to $200 million this year.
So are we doing anything to get the word out to ratepayers that conservation is going to be particularly important for them in terms of their own finances and holding down their water bills?
We have been, and we're working on a broader campaign on that information as we start to get closer to the summer months, which is when it really starts to tends to pay off for us.
Okay.
And I would also point out, just this is very much the reason why we are looking for what are really quite minor investments ramping up in our local water supply options to try to get us each year, try to get a little bit further ahead, so we're not quite so dependent upon that very variable source of water supply.
Thank you.
Robert, we have a card for 14 now?
Yes, we have a speaker card for 14. The speaker is Linda Romney.
Yes, I would like to make a general observation and an objection, and that is that on number 14, you do not have a dollar amount affixed. Also, number 15, when you get to a lease, why is there not a dollar amount affixed? Especially number 14, this is extremely important to know, that we're going from 62 cents to $1.11. It was my understanding that we receive 65% of our water from the Sierra Madre snowpack. We still have the same snowpack. So why are we going from 62 cents to $1.11? And why is there not the actual figure listed on this? If you say that you want to be transparent with your ratepayers, why is not the very, very least criteria adhered to? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on 14?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on 14. Any opposition? Hearing none, 14 carries unanimously. Item 15, Commissioner Moss.
Right. This is a fiber optic lease, and I have some questions about it. Mainly, there doesn't seem to be anything in the amendment with respect to an increase in the rate. And the second thing is that it appears that the agreement, the IRU 01, is expiring in a couple of days. So we're kind of, it's being brought to us at the last minute. So perhaps you can start with the second point. Why is this being brought to us at the last minute?
Okay, so I have to apologize. I don't have an answer for why it's being brought to at this point in time. I can tell you though that there's been negotiations with NBC, and they were wavering as to whether or not they want to continue with our service, and therefore that contributed to it.
Well, what was the nature of that negotiation, and in particular, why is there no increase shown for the on the rates?
As far as the rates are in accordance with what our pricing survey is. So
what's the date of that pricing survey?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I'll have to get that for you.
Have you ever actually seen the pricing survey?
There's a consultant that does the pricing survey for us.
Have you physically seen the pricing survey?
Not in a couple of years, but I'm not.
So how do you know the pricing survey is valid if it's a couple of years old?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we've been through this time and time and time again, and I've been pushing the commission, I've been pushing management to not treat the fiber optics as a lost orphan here. And here we are once again being placed, with an extension to a lease without an increase specified, and at the last minute. So even if we were insistent as a commission for an increase, if that were warranted, there wouldn't be time to do the increase because we've only got 4 days left in the contract. So this is not a good way to do business. And I just want to make it real clear for everyone that I am going to vote against every single fiber optic lease, master lease, new lease amendment until I see a change in the protocol here. I mean, we have a multi-million-dollar business in these fiber optics leases, and we're treating them with nonchalance and casualness that's astounding. And the only reason why we have this business is because the fiber optics have been placed into DWP's control and care, and we're not caring for these things, at least not on the for-profit side. So, I have a problem here. And, I wanted to get that out there. I'm sorry that you're the brunt of my invective and fury about this, but it's just gone on too many times now. So, unfortunately, since we do have only 4 days left in the lease, and since we do have customer relations with outside customers, I don't think we have any choice but to approve this one. But I want the department on record is that I'm going to do everything I can to oppose every single one of these leases, master leases, and IRUs as they come before us, if they come to us with this kind of casualness in the future.
I'd also like to ask whomever would have the answer to why this is coming to us 4 days before the lease expires, respond to us and give us that answer, even if we end up approving this item today. I'd like to know why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can just kind of dump on NBC at the last minute and say, because it came to us through departmental negligence at the last minute, now NBC, we're gonna cut off your fiber optic service. I don't think that's a good way to do business either.
But to your point, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and I think now it's time to start figuring out where specifically in the department we're having this issue and addressing it individually versus, a lease at a time. So let's figure out what that issue is. It's relative to this particular lease and why it's coming to us at this point.
And Commissioners, I understand it, and I'm troubled that I didn't catch this before it got to your attention on the matter. What I will pledge that we will do is something that we should have done long ago, and that is establish a master spreadsheet of our leases when they expire, and making certain that we have action well in advance of that expiry of those agreements, and bring them to you on a timely basis, and that we provide an update with regard to our current assessment of the market. We actually are doing an updated assessment, going through that process now to get that done, and we owe you a better explanation of this, and I'm sorry that we didn't present it in this manner, and I take full responsibility for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Parfrey?
So to the point of Commissioner Moss promising that in the future he will not look favorably upon the fiber optic leases if they come to him in this manner, I cannot, as one, prejudge whatever board letter we receive, but I have to say I am extremely sympathetic with what Commissioner Moss is putting forward, and he may, and I'm not saying with certainty, he may find a friendly vote in me as well. So I hope that the message is loud and clear through the department that this is not going to be tolerated any further.
Thank you. With that, let me because reluctantly, because I don't want to screw NBC up at the last minute here, let me make a motion to approve this IRU and this board resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second, and I concur with your concerns and thoughts about the matter, as well as Commissioner Parfrey's.
There's a motion and a second. Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, takes us to item 17, which is the issuance of the bonds. We have a presentation.
So we have here on the table a proposed resolution with respect to refunding up to $300 million of our Series 2003A bonds. We are asking for approval to issue replacement bonds up to $325 million. By executing this transaction, we hope to save about $31.7 million over the life of the existing bonds. It represents nearly 11% of the amount that we would have paid. The documents that we have provided for your review here today include the supplemental bond resolution that authorizes the issuance, the escrow agreement related to the refunding, the bond purchase contract, and the preliminary official statement. The underwriters who will take part in this transaction are those who were indicated on the new pool of underwriters that we've brought to you in early March. The two senior underwriters are RBC Capital Markets and Siebert Branford Schenck. And there's a pool of other underwriters who will be participating in this transaction, including Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Barclays Capital, Cabrera Capital Markets, Ramirez and Company, and U.S. Bank Corp as co-managers. And Mario, would you like to add any notes about how we're going to execute this and timing and so forth?
In terms of timing, we are going to the market to price the bonds to refund the old bonds May 23 of this month. Currently, Phil mentioned, and the board letter mentioned, that there's going to be $31 million of present value savings expected. As of yesterday, the savings increased because the market rallied, and we are expecting $4 more million over the $31 million that he mentioned.
That could also change again by the 23rd of May, right?
Yes, between now and May 23.
Yes, sir.
According to the board letter, the cost of this transaction is going to be about $1.82 million.
Yes.
So that's all the fees and consultant
Everything.
fees and
Yeah.
any other
Right.
costs and expense. And then the first year savings is based upon the numbers you have here. Was that, am I reading this correctly, it's about $2 million first year savings? So basically, within the first year, we're paying for all the costs of the refinance.
Yes. And the estimated, the expenditure that's quoted in the board letter is an estimate. We're still looking at negotiating that amount.
Great. Well, I want to commend the department for this astute refinancing. It looks like it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Then I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any opposition? Hearing none, 17 carries unanimously. Item 18.
Okay, on item 18, we have for your consideration and approval a contract that will offer a rate that certain of our customers will find to their advantage. This is an agreement that not only benefits those large commercial customers, which include cold storage facilities and industrial gas suppliers, but this will also have benefits to the department. And the reason for that is this new agreement will encourage those customers to shift their load away from the peak periods that the department at times can be constrained in our ability to provide enough energy to serve customers. So it will encourage them to shift their consumption away from those peak periods. In exchange, they will be offered a lower rate. This makes sense for both the department and the customers. This will be essentially help for these customers to stay in Los Angeles. So there's a business development and jobs aspect of this, but it makes sense for us and for them. So we would ask your approval.
Commissioners? Commissioner Moss?
A couple of questions. So right now, we have 4 customers that would qualify for this?
That's correct. We have cold storage facilities, three separate locations, 2 separate companies, and then 1 industrial gas supplier.
And the gold standard here is 10 million, am I reading this right? 10 million kilowatts per month?
Yes.
Or anything in excess of that? So can we afford, and would it be a good idea to look at what about 5 million kilowatt hours per month, or make this deal open to more customers? I mean, would that have benefits to the department because you've identified business development, economic benefits to organizations in the city?
Sure.
Why set the bar so high?
George, could you speak to
Yes.
why you chose this cutoff?
And it's also it's kind of trial because it's a new contract and there's something that we have to work out. And moving forward, as our general manager also, want to take care of the local customers. So yes, we were looking to how can we lower that bar and get more participation into that rate and create a win-win situation so that our industrial customers will stay with the city and get a lower rate, and also department going to spend less to serve them. So yes, in the future, this is a new contract which had to get a feel for it.
So what time frame was, assuming we approve this and it goes forward and gets implemented, what time frame would you estimate before you come back to us and say, we would now like to drop this down maybe to the 5 million kilowatt hour per month level?
Maybe I could provide a little bit more,
Okay.
a little more context for this. We have been talking for some time here about the prospect of expanding our energy efficiency program to include programs like this, which are basically broadly referred to as demand response. And that is trying to work with a customer with certain advance notice, certain timeliness, certain periods of time and frequency during the year. It can vary. As to working with your customer to say, if you have a load that you can curtail, we will pay you for that curtailment, and when we do those calculations, we pay it up to a level that is cheaper than if we had to go provide that power to them long term. Doing that broadly, first, the department does not have a broad-scale program for this, and we would like to get one. It is not something that comes together quickly. It's probably frankly, likely to be easily a year in the making to do something that's much more broadly. And it can be done for commercial customers as well as residential customers, even for pool pump interruption, for HVAC on your home, and your air conditioner interruption. There are lots of types of things that can be done. All of them require different evaluations of what's the level of the trigger that induces somebody to say, I'll sign up for that, and then making certain that, in fact, you've got either the technology or the wherewithal to make certain that when you call for it, you actually get that savings. So there's technology issues, there's pricing issues, and there's customer behavior issues, all that have to get sorted out that change a lot. What we got together and we talked about in the power system, and FSO and I got together and said, well, what can we do? What are the bigger ones that we have out there that we could do something now on, rather than waiting to get everything sorted out? And frankly, this was the here and now that we could do. And so we evaluated it. There's a small group of customers that kind of fit a similar sort of profile. Said, let's move on that. Let's see how that works, rather than waiting to do all these other things. So that's kind of why you've got what you've got here. I would like to be delivering more to you than this, and in fact, we have a goal of trying to get to something on the order of several hundred megawatts of this capability within our system over a number, frankly, it would be over a number of years to get to that. You will be hearing more about this, but I just don't want to set up an expectation you're going to be hearing about it in a matter of weeks. This is a big effort. We're actually going to have to bring some outside help in to help us structure a program like this that fits all those types of criteria that I just described.
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense, so I think that's great.
Yeah.
Commissioner Parfait?
Well, first of all, I really want to commend the department for moving the demand-side management program forward. And I know it's baby steps, but it is so needed. And this actually aligns with what I brought up earlier, having to do with getting through the summer months and providing electricity to the folks in Los Angeles. And I do want to encourage you to move forward on this. And I think when we have our new CIS system in place, it'll probably help us in the rolling out of demand-side management on a smaller scale. But I'm an enthusiastic supporter of what you've pulled together here, and I want to thank you for it. So if I may, I would like to move that we approve item 18.
Thank you.
I second, and I think it's a great start.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Carries unanimously. Thank you. 19 are filed items. Any comments or questions from commissioners?
I have a couple of questions on the monthly power system report. Under the Barron Ridge Renewable Transmission Project, I understand that we're looking at the possibility of some rerouting, and I just want to hear from you that this isn't necessarily a delay tactic, but actually there's some progress, because this is so important. We want to see this happen.
Mark can go through the process that we're going through.
Yeah, it's part of the environmental impact report and statement process, working with the Forest Service. The community's asked us to look. The community's asked us to look at an alternative to go around the Green Valley community, but it's not delaying the project. We're continuing to move forward with evaluating it and still on track for bringing EIR to you this fall.
Thank you very much. And then another quick question related to the Intermountain Power Project. I saw that there was a test related to mercury emissions associated with burning coal, and I'm just wondering when this was performed. It's my understanding that the units have been down. Was this performed prior to the shutdown?
This is for the unit that hasn't been shut down.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. No, I have no further questions. That's all.
Any other questions or comments on filed items? Hearing none, they are deemed filed. We have a management item under 20 for an RPS project update. Or that's just to be filed?
That's just a management report for your information.
If you have any questions,
if you have any questions, we'll be happy.
Filing.
Hearing none, we'll move to closed session.
Yes, sir. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54.957.1 of the California Government Code.
Thank you.
Take a little recess?
Yes. Bio break.